I'm Scott, I'm with Killarney Metals, and I'm here to talk to you about drip pans. So, when you're using a drip pan, sometimes those drip pans are put into environments that are tough. They'll require a hard hat. Probably more than likely you're going to need some safety goggles where drip pans and catch pans, spill pans are used. And in those instances, you want a good, sturdy, heavy-duty pan that gives you long life and will stand up to the rigors of an abusive environment. Now, sometimes that environment might be a factory, could be a manufacturing facility, it might be a warehouse. But in some instances, that abusive environment very well may be your own home. If you have kids like I do and they're running around, washing machine pan can get bent very quickly when a child throws a heavy toy on there or steps on the edge, if that pan isn't made nice and heavy duty. So what we want to do is show you a comparison between two different pans. One pan is a very popular pan on the market, very, very inexpensive, and another pan, and the other pan is our pan. The first pan that we're going to be looking at is a pan that's very common on the market, a very popular pan. It's very inexpensive. I believe this pan is under $30. The material it is manufactured from is aluminum. It's a thin gauge aluminum. It does have a rolled edge, which is nice. It is a press pan, and you can see that it has a nice finish on the inside. Now, if you'll notice for me also, on this particular pan, we've done nothing to the pan, and you'll just have to take my word for this. We've done nothing to this pan since we received it. So, so the pan that you see here before you, with this crease and along the drain line, and this buckling in the center of the pan, that's from shipping damage. We didn't send it back because we had intentions of using it for this video. If our pans showed up in this condition, you can be assured that the shipping company ran them over with a forklift because that's the only way you're going to get them to look like this. So this is a pan, and this one was shipped to us, and we yeah. So this is a pan, and we purchased it, had it shipped it to us. This is the way we received it. Now, in your facility, when you place a drip pan on the floor or underneath a piece of equipment or wherever you might be using it, your pan has the likelihood, or at least the potential, of being impacted. There could be impact occurrences. Some people may drop something, a heavy tool on it, like say a hammer. You might have impact from people stepping on it, or other things that might happen and impact your drip pan. Now, if your drip pan is made up of this consistency, this is again a common marketplace drip pan. If this is your drip pan, then what are you to expect when you get those impact on your drip pan? By the way, when I say that those things can happen in your factory, they can also happen in your home. If this is a drip pan that's underneath your water heater in your garage, believe me, a farm tool might fall on it, or I'm sorry, a gardening tool might fall on it, or you could have other things that are in your garage fall on it. So there's plenty of places where a pan could get damaged, but let's take a look at what happens in the instance that we have an impact to the bottom of this pan. So I'm using a hammer, standard hammer, 16-ounce hammer, and I got my pan, and I want to show you what the bottom happens. So I'm going to, so you can see the bottom here. Hopefully you can see the bottom. I'm going to hit the pan, and you can see the impact. Now, that wasn't extremely hard. I didn't try to go overboard trying to knock it out. I just simply hit the bottom of the pan. You can see the impact on this side has stretched the metal a little bit there, and you can see where that particular hit happened on the back side of the pan. Okay. Now you say, oh well, that's on, that's going to be on flat on the floor. But what if that happened on the side of your pan, like right here? So if you're going to have a dent of that size on the bottom of your pan, when that type of impact happens to the side of your pan, that's going to potentially destroy the use of your pan. Now, let's also show you something else. Same pan. Remember, we hit it with the back with our hammer. You can see that it's not sitting straight any longer. So let's say that your impact, which wouldn't be uncommon, let's say your impact is not with a dull head of the hammer, but let's say it's with something a little sharper, maybe like an edge of a tool or a sharp tool. In that instance, what happens to this type of pan? Here we've got, again, an aluminum thin gauge material pan. What I've done there is I've just made this a drain pan without a side hole on the wall. You can see in the impact, you can see that this material is now creased, and it actually has the ability to have seeping or leakage through the hole. That was not a hard hit. You can see the impact on this side. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna hit it again because I hit it right on the tag there. Let's do it in the metal part. Here you go, ready? I didn't raise the hammer up very hard. I wasn't trying to knock it off the block. I just brought it down, and you can see that your material is now creased. And interestingly enough, the metal didn't even impede the tool from going into the wood, and it has captured a piece of wood inside. So this pan is no longer, you can see the hole here, right here, this pan is no longer usable. Again, not a significantly hard hit, nothing unusual about what I just did in terms of what could happen in a warehouse, happen in your garage, happen in a factory, certainly not in a factory setting. Tools can fall, heavy objects do fall, and sharp objects also fall. That could very easily happen to your pan in any type of environment like that. The most common force that you're going to get on a drip pan is on these sidewalls. Crushing impact from people standing on it, people kicking it, people running over it. Those are the most common of impacts that happen, and those have the greatest tendency to cause a drip pan to become less useful or not useful at all. So if I step my foot up here on this side, you can see it's going to go up like that, and that's because it's a lightweight material. But I'm going to stand on that side, and then I'm going to stand up here like this. So you can see that the weight of my body has essentially flattened out the edges of the pan. The material is simply not heavy enough or thick enough to withstand the force of my weight and gravity on this pan. Now I'm not a huge guy. A child jumping on the side of this pan is going to bend it down. A hard object or a hard heavy object landing on this is going to impact the ability for this pan to do its job. The wall is going to be affected by it. This is not, the force that I showed you in standing on the pan is not something that's unusual. So, this pan is now obviously not of use to me or to anyone who's purchased it for the purpose of containing water. And unfortunately, in a lot of instances, if you go into garages under water heaters or you go in underneath HVAC systems where this type of material and this type of thickness is used, you're going to see pans that are as dysfunctional as this pan and will not work to do the job that they've been bought to do. So there's the thin gauge aluminum pan, common on the marketplace, inexpensive style drip pan. Now let's look at what our drip pan does. So what I hold in my hand here is a Killarney Metals round drip pan. It's 24 inches. Same diameter as the pan that was just destroyed. This pan is made out of galvanized steel. It's a heavy gauge galvanized steel. It is a metal spun pan. It's a different process than a stamped or a pressed pan. What we'll show is that the strength of this pan is significantly higher than what you saw come out of the aluminum pan over there. You can see the galvanization on the pan. Back of the pan, we've got straight walls on our pan that are 2 inches tall. There is no hole in this drip pan, so it is not a drain pan. This is a drip pan for spill containment. Now, I'm going to go through the same process and show you the same things that we did to the other pan. I'm going to do to this pan so that you can see the difference. Now, I want you to be clear. This is not only true of round drip pans. This is true of rectangular, square drip pans. The things that you're going to see is the same. When you use a cheap material and a cheap process to manufacture your drip pans, you are going to end up with an inexpensive drip pan, but probably one that's not going to suit your needs for very long. In order to get yourself a long-lasting, long-service drip pan, you're going to need to make sure and use a material that can withstand abuse and also is anti-corrosion. All right, so I've got my handy-dandy hammer, 16 ounce, same hammer that I used on the other pan, and now I'm looking at the bottom of my drip pan. I'll hit it from the same side that I hit that pan with. So here's my interior of my pan. Hard impact by a dull object on our pan. Okay, so materially, the pan is not impacted. The hit, relatively the same, as much as I can make it the same. There is, you can see an indentation on the interior of the pan, okay? There's no impact or effect on the outside of the pan. On the back side, you can also see where the metal has bulged. There is a dimple where that is located. So similarly, but to less a degree, is the effect of that blunt hammer force. The thicker material resists the impact of the hammer greater than the thinner material. Also, steel is denser than aluminum, and therefore it resists the impact as well. You'll notice, unlike the other pan, after we did the blunt force impact, it was basically wobbling all around. You can see that on this pan, there is no wobble. It's basically still a flat out pan. There is the dent in there, but the pan itself is still usable, and it's not wobbling all over the place. So now that we have had the blunt force impact, we'll show what happens when you have the sharp impact by a gardening tool or someone dropping something heavy and sharp on your drip pan. So you see the impact here, and the material has moved underneath the hammer claw, but on the back side, there's no penetration whatsoever. Nowhere where the pan has been compromised in terms of its ability to hold liquid. Just to make it fair, we'll make sure and do it again. And in all of those impacts, while you can see the dent, you have no penetration coming through. All right, so now to the more common impact on the pan, that is the sidewalls. Again, we're working with the same drip pan. You can see the marks on the interior. This is a Killarney Metals galvanized steel drip pan, round with straight walls on it. So what happens when we have crushing or side or effects on the sidewalls of our pan? I'm going to stand on this pan just as I stood on the other pan. I'm going to stand on this side here. Well, first of all, let me show you. I can stand on this side. I can put all the weight on one side and the pan does not raise. I can stand fully on this pan right here, and I can bounce up and down, and I can walk around, and I can try and bend it, but it's not going to bend. Even trying to push and force out on the sides doesn't cause this pan to compromise or bend. So we put both the pans through the rigors of our test, impacting blunt and sharp, as well as impacting the sidewalls. And these are the results. You can see a Killarney Metals pan that is still functional, the walls have their integrity, and everything's together. You can use this underneath your water heater, in your warehouse, wherever you want. This pan is still ready to be used. And you have the competition, common pan on the market. Same treatment, but significantly different result. This pan can be used for, I'll let you figure it out. This is the Killarney Metals difference.